City, a little town where I'm from, where everybody's southern raised, just as good as they come. Backwoods and mossy oak and mud holes, and back then we only ate what the farm grow. Man, I miss some days how we played on them dirt roads, and out of towners came with respect, cause they know we all close. Yeah, southern pride, towing gun folks. Welcome to my city, I-75 South, just north of Live Oak.
I'm from a city called Austin, Georgia, right on the border of Florida. I was raised on these dirt roads, mud tires, spin backwoods when they ride this small town living, yeah. Now welcome to my city, town, 229, turn it up so they can hear it loud. We get it up with big trucks and heavy G's, pretty girls with moonshine and whiskey.
It's nothing like our dirt roads, you can bet that, son. I'm from a city, by any means, we gon' protect our guns. I hang with the rednecks and geeks. We get up in big trucks in the backwoods like Indians and teepees. This the home of the mighty, mighty Vikings. Wildcats, blazing, title town license winners. Pretty girls with country grammar. When I say about Austin, Georgia, I ain't talking about Atlanta. This a different type of city, where the woods are pretty, but get gritty. You hear me? What you know about that 229? You can find us on the Florida, Georgia line, where I reside.
I'm from a city called Austin, Georgia, right on the border of Florida. I was raised on these dirt roads, mud tires, spin backwoods when we ride this small town living, yeah. Now welcome to my city, town, 229, turn it up so they can hear it loud. We get it up with big trucks and heavy G's, pretty girls with moonshine and whiskey. Georgia, right on the border of Florida. I was raised on these dirt roads, mud tires, spin backwoods when we ride this small town living, yeah. Now welcome to my city, downtown, 229, turn it up so they can hear it loud. We get it up with big trucks and heavy G's, pretty girls with moonshine and whiskey.
Whenever you hear the band kick off that song, you know it's close. And today, the Georgia Bridgemen concluded 2 weeks of band camp. And man, that means kickoff is right around the corner. Aren't you as fired up as we are? Wake up. And what's up, Lowndes County? Welcome to the Viking Nation Live. This is our weekly celebration of our community, specifically Lowndes Athletics. Although from time to time, I do get a little off topic and get all philosophical, which may happen tonight. You never know. I'm looking forward to getting a little bit closer to the season because that marks another thing that's going to happen, and that's the return of the Lowndes Superfan. You've noticed that they have been quiet during the off season because everybody's got a busy summertime. And so, in the fall, we're going to welcome back Billy Pearson and Chase Garnto. They're just busy. Everybody is busy, which is completely understandable. You guys ready for some Viking football? Did you enjoy that little rendition from the Lowndes Drum Corps and the cheerleaders there? Go Vikings, go. It's time. When you hear that tuba, when you hear that 14, 15 man strong tuba kick in, you know it's ready. You know it's ready. And with that said, let me go ahead and thank our sponsors, our title sponsor for this year, Pepsi of Valdosta. Thank you to these guys over there at Pepsi. They are fantastic makers and distributors of Pepsi, Mountain Dew Rockstar, Mountain Dew Energy, Mountain Dew Spark, and the latest lemon and lime drink called Starry. So everybody is good to go with the Pepsi flavor of your choice. Thank you so much to Kyle Conger at White Oak Investment. Does a great job. Listen, the market is on a roll lately, but it's not going to always be that way. So whatever, if it's up, if it's down, if it's sideways, whatever, you do need some good, sound financial advice. And Kyle Conger might be the guy for you. If you're happy with your financial guy, stay with him. But if you're looking for one, or if you've never planned for your financial future, give Kyle a call. It's worth at least a phone call at 229-850-8848. Thank you so much to Tim Neesmith. Hey, Tim Neesmith, our favorite stick man, had a birthday this week. So happy birthday, Tim, man. Hope you had a fantastic day this week on your day of the year. He owns a company called A Shade of Perfection where he customizes shades and blinds. If you want to make your house beautiful, one surefire way to do it is to make your window treatments beautiful. And Tim can do that by customizing your shade and blinds. 229-251-3479. And thank you to these guys, Josh Batson and Justin Haskin at the Migraine and Spine Clinic of Valdosta. They are your certified headache medicine specialists offering a variety of migraine and back pain treatments. And I get the feeling that this season, our mighty Lowndes Vikings, they're going to give a lot of headaches to a lot of opponents. And you can listen, if you're a fan of an opponent out there, you might want to call these guys up. Go ahead and schedule that appointment for those migraine treatments. I'm just kidding around. Don't get all upset. I'm just kidding around. Hey, I also want to thank Chandler Kudik. We had a pretty bad storm this week. We were out of town on doing some vacation down in St. Augustine and came back to a pool full of debris and pine straw and all kinds of stuff. Chandler Kudik was Johnny on the spot. Made the pool beautiful again. You can give him a call at 229-415-0752. Listen, someone called me today and said, okay, how good is this Chandler guy? I mean, is he fair? Is he reasonable with his pricing? And more importantly, what kind of service does he provide? So guys, I use him for my own pool. So if you don't believe me, give Chandler a shot at Aquaworks Pool Company, 229-415-0752. And thank you so much to Tony Green and Trey Hatcher at Imperial Auto Sales. They've got two fantastic locations to meet your automotive needs. One on North Ashley Street, one on Bay Tree Road. Give these guys a call, Imperial Auto Sales. Thank you so much, guys, for sponsoring the Viking Nation. All right. So thank you all to all of our sponsors. Wesley McDade says, I'm good. One Lowndes, baby. Yeah. You hear that music, you're all fired up, man. It's time to knock some heads and get things going, right? Now, we got a pretty good show lined up for you tonight. Head coach of the Lowndes Vikings, Adam Carter, is expected to call in around 7:15. So they've had a pretty busy off season, and we're going to catch up with the head man out there himself, Coach Adam Carter, and find out what the Vikings are up to, what he thinks of their chances this coming season. Now, obviously, he's going to say, we got a pretty good shot. And if our guys execute the way we taught them, you expect that. But we're going to press him a little bit on what they've been doing in off season, try to get an update on the scheduling that we had a little scheduling snafu, and we'll get into that a little bit more as the show goes on. Now, I want to go ahead and tell you ahead of time. Normally during the off season, we've extended the show to about an hour and a half. We've usually gone to about 8:30, but tonight we're going to wrap it up right around 8 or shortly after, mainly because, I don't mind sharing personal things with you guys. Both of our kids are adults now. They've moved out. We're empty nesters. And so when the kids come over for dinner, we want to make sure we're there to talk to them and enjoy their fellowship and that kind of stuff. So the kids are coming over tonight when the show ends. So we're going to cut it short around 8 o'clock. I'm sure you guys will understand. So next week, we'll pick it up with our regular schedule. All right. So thank you so much to our sponsors. And here is our quote of the day. I am looking for a sponsor for this segment. The quote of the day is this: the more uncomfortable you become, the greater the likelihood of change, not the greater the likelihood of success. Because, sometimes you just don't have that outcome planned out, but you do want to take baby steps, interval steps, that kind of stuff. And change is an integral part of that. So if you want to increase your chances of change, then you got to make yourself uncomfortable. You got to get out of your comfort zone, right? Trainer says, I guess you can call me the Sean Payton of the Viking fan base. I have no idea what you're referring to, Trainer. I have no idea what you're referring to. Travis Hart says, each week I'm getting more and more hyped for football season. Travis, I'm right there with you, man. I'm ready to go. So as we're waiting on Coach Carter to call in a couple of minutes, let me touch on a couple of things. We've been talking about NIL stuff, name, image, likeness stuff at the high school level. We've been talking about off and on all summer long. And the latest news on that front is, several weeks ago, we talked about what some of the coaches thought about it, and specifically Byron Slack up at Cook County. He's the Cook County head coach now. But this comes from Coach Lazat over at Richmond Hill. They're in our region now, and he shared his thoughts with it. This is what he said. I don't necessarily agree with it at the college level. I don't think it's controlled very well, so I'm reserved in saying it's okay at the high school level. I think individuals should be able to capitalize on their successes and ability, but it can get out of control. High schools with a lot of resources and deep community pockets are going to be able to do a lot more things, and it's going to pull into question some of the other rules GHSA has with eligibility, moving and things of that nature. I have a hard time seeing that NIL trickle down to the high school level when they can't control it at the college level. There's a lot of truth to what he's saying. So we've been talking about that. So it's interesting to find out the thoughts from these head coaches across the state, and pretty much they're all saying the same thing. We don't have a problem with kids capitalizing on their name, image, and likeness. We just like to see more controls because we see the chaos that it's causing in the college world. Hey, caller, welcome to the Viking Nation Live. What's on your mind?
Coach Carter.
Hey, Coach Carter, man, talk about the Viking Nation. You are the Viking Nation. How are you, my man?
Hey, listen, man, I'm just trying to come on and give everybody something to talk about, I guess, right? I appreciate y'all letting me have a few minutes, though.
Yeah, yes, sir. I appreciate you taking time, because listen, you've been a busy man. You've got a busy program that you've been shepherding throughout this off season. Coach, listen, it just seems like yesterday you were hired and came on the show, and you've had a lot to do in a short period of time. What's the team been up to this summer?
Well, anytime you have a transition, there's going to be a ton going on, from getting the way we do weight room ready, the way we turn our clothes in, to hiring staffs, to getting kids and working them out and all those things. So you got so much going on, but you know, the off season has been good. We have done a lot. You know, we have started doing our 2-on-1s way back in January. You know, we started doing stuff with our middle schools and working those guys out 2 days a week. We've went through a whole spring practice, you know, with a new staff trying to get used to each other and people traveling from Metro Atlanta. One coach came from Texas, you know, so just trying to make stuff work. Had a successful spring. Came out of it feeling really good about a lot of places, and then still trying to figure out some question marks. Summer's been good. I think that, you know, we went four hard days, all 4 weeks of June and all the way through July, and tomorrow will be our 5th day this week because of acclimation. But we've given them a lot, and they've kept coming back, which is the positive. I mean, we've had patty camps. We've been in 707s where kids have gone out and lifted in practice the day before. I get them there at 6 o'clock on a Tuesday morning, put them on a bus and go play 7-on-7 for 6 hours. And they come right back on Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. and do it again. And so it's been busy, man, but it's been good. I can't ask for nothing else, you know, just opportunities to come to work every day with a great group of young men and a great staff that's been going to work, and hopefully it all pays off for us.
I got you. Well, Coach, along those lines, now that we're just a few weeks away from kickoff, you know, you talked about getting started early in the year. You gave us a whole litany of things that y'all have been up to. You know, looking back on where the kids started from when you took over the program to where they are now, how would you assess their progress?
Well, I think a lot of that comes down to which ways you look at it. You know what I mean? I think that you've had a bunch of kids that have really, really grown. You know, we actually just did a 1+ type rep max here this week to try to see where we're at physically. You know, I've said this since I got here, man. I love the weight room. I love being in there with them, and I love to watch them grow and compete in there. And so I think when you start looking at from a physical standpoint, you start looking at what our kids look like. I think you start looking at those numbers that we just had this week, which, you know, we're starting to make gains. I'm a big team strength guy. Like, I want to know what our team numbers are. I like when individuals have really good numbers, but I'm more so about where our team is, you know, overall, and how many kids we have at certain levels in our program. And so, you know, I think that's a big thing for us. And, you know, again, being able to, you know, go through a spring, you know, we spent a lot of time in the indoor in the spring. It was hot, and, you know, we were going to get kicked outside and we were going to be put, you know, in helmets or whatever. Well, we went inside so we could actually practice. Well, where they're at now from a practice point to being able to go out there and line up and compete against each other without coaches having to stand there with them learning new schemes all the time, right? So, you know, that's progress. And I think they've gotten to know us a little bit too now. I think that's important. We've talked about this, I think, the very first time I came on, of, you know, just the trust factor of, you know, it is a new staff. It is a new transition for these kids. And the seniors, you know, this is the third time it's happened. And so, you know, I think the progress between that might be the biggest thing, you know, of us really being able to go in and coach them and have some, you know, strong, honest, heart-to-heart conversations, and the kids actually trust us and know that, you know, we have the best intentions in place. It may not be what they want to hear, but they know where we're coming from. And so, again, I think we made a lot of progress. You know, I really do. I'm happy with them. I'm happy with the group we got right now. And, you know, we put the pads on for sure on Monday, and hopefully it all reflects that.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, listen, your motto, and you've made it very, very well known. Your motto is to compete. Talk about how the kids have rallied around that identity that you're shaping for the team.
Well, let's actually talk about that real quick. How about that?
Okay.
Let's give everybody an opportunity what it means when they see it on our shirts. And
Okay.
see it when we say it. So I think that may help you a little bit. So it's not just a word, right? So we break the word down. Like, everything means something. I told a guy today, you know, it's not just something where we just walk around and say, hey, compete, you know. So we actually break everything down. So you have character, you have opportunity, you have mental toughness, you have physical, you have effort, you have teamwork, and you have excellence. So as you start to talk about, like, actually implementing that whole thing, it goes in depth a little bit too, you know. So when we're able to go through our character eds and those things on Wednesdays during the year and all that, we did it in the spring, and we'll do it in the fall. We start to break those things down, whether it's the character of how our team is. Well, we've got really good kids. Our kids are not perfect by any means, not like neither of us are, but the character of our team, I feel like we're in a really good place. Again, we have some battles sometimes, but, I think that if you go in that school building and you ask our teachers and our admin about how our kids behaved and responded and how they did things in the spring, I think that you would be really happy with the responses you get. Opportunity is something, I think every day, well, in life in general, you're going to be given so many opportunities, and it's what you do with it, right? And we talk about that. Whether it is an opportunity to go excel in a math class, or it's an opportunity to play 50 snaps on a Friday night, or whether it's an opportunity to run down on one play on a Friday night. What are you going to do with your opportunity? The mental toughness part is probably the biggest thing. I think we deal with teenage children. We deal with, 186 of them.
Yeah.
And that mental part of it, man, is tough. All these kids are going through different stages in their life, and they're going through, I'll tell this, and I said this to them at my first parent meeting, and I said it to the team. This time of their life is the hardest time of their life. For these young men right now, this is the hardest part of their life, and they don't know what's coming. They don't know anything. They don't know the future. They don't know what's going to happen when they turn, 30 and they got bills in the family. They don't know that. They just know what they got going on now. And so to be able to have a mental toughness to keep coming back, to keep going through some adversity. And we put our kids in those situations often. I think that's part of my job. That's not necessarily the easy part. But, you got to try to find ways to get through that stuff. If everything always comes easy to you and everything is always handed to you, then it kind of makes it hard when it gets down to 4th and 1 on the goal line and you got your back against the wall and it's not going to be handed to you at that point. And so all that goes. And, you got physical. I think we just talked about the weight room. When we put the pads on Monday, we'll figure that out on board drills. Effort, I tell them all the time, man, like you choose to be here. Ain't none of you getting paid. We're not NIL, right? So your effort, that's something you control. Whether it is effort in the classroom, whether it's effort on the field, it's all what you control. Teamwork, I think, is something that, that's Lowndes. When you think of Lowndes football, you think of a team. I literally, right now, when I said it, I envisioned last season seeing their reaction as a team on the sideline when they had success and what it looked like in the stands and all that stuff, and just doing stuff for somebody else. In our society right now, I feel like everything is a me society, and what the instant gratification of what you can do for me right now. But what can I do for you is kind of the motto we try to do. And then excellence. Again, we're not going to be perfect, man, but we're going to strive to do things the best way we can. I'm going to screw up. Kids are going to screw up. Coaches are going to screw up. It is what it is. None of us are perfect, but at the end of the day, if we keep striving for that, we should have some success.
Coach, I love that. I've never really heard all the I guess the acronym broken down that way, but that's fantastic. I never knew all that, all those words were behind that acronym. So, man, kudos to you. That's fantastic stuff. It really is. Guys, if you're just now tuning in to the Viking Nation Live, welcome to the program. We've got on the line with us head coach of the Viking football team, Coach Adam Carter. Coach, you posted on Twitter about a week or so ago that we had a little scheduling snafu. I think you were looking for a replacement game on either September 1st or September 8th. When we look at the schedule, that's West Broward. So apparently they've dropped from the schedule. How are we looking on finding a replacement game?
Well, it actually got dropped on me on Monday.
Oh, okay.
Which was, it's tough.
Wow.
And, you're sitting here and you're trying to get ready for a season, and it's nobody's fault. I mean, again, it is what it is. They had a deal in their county about out-of-state games, and they did not know about it. And Florida did some stuff high school-wise, like May and June. I even found out Florida did to pass a new rule in June because I had a team come to my July paddy camp, and they passed a rule in June where they couldn't even come out of state for a paddy camp in July, which we had no idea about. And so it's just one of them things that happen. I'll be honest with you. It is very, very difficult to find a game at this point in time. Usually if you find a game at this point in time, it's against somebody that nobody wanted to play, right? And there's various reasons because of that. You're going to get a ton of out-of-state private schools that are, have different enrollment things than we have, requirements. some reclass stuff when you start getting out of the state of Georgia, and it just doesn't fall within the same guidelines that we have to be in. And so we're looking through it. We're reaching out to everybody we can. I know me and my staff sat in the room today and got on our phones, and we looked at every association that surrounded the state of Georgia all the way to Mississippi and Tennessee, trying to find, a game that that fits us and fits what we need at that point in time in our season. We're going to, obviously everybody knows our non-region is no slouch. You know what I mean? So, we're trying to, when you start talking non-region, you want to get games that are going to benefit you somehow. You know what I mean? Whether it's getting you ready, whether it's getting kids ready, whatever it is, that you want to find games that are going to benefit you. And, you don't want a game where you're going to go out and win 100-0, but you also don't want a game that they may come in there and just, and drum you because they got kids that they're the same as yours. You know what I mean? And so it's just a lot. It really is. And Coach Redshaw's done a great job of searching. He's the one that figured this whole thing out and came to me, and he's been on phones. He's been trying to find everything he can, and we'll find one. We'll line up and play somebody. But again, right now we're trying to find the best possible situation for our kids and our program and what we need with that game, and obviously have one for the that's going to be a good contest for our fans.
Yeah, Coach, I can't imagine. Well, I can imagine how difficult it is, on the eve of the season starting to having to find a game like that. I think, when you posted this, I immediately went to the GHSA scheduling site, and out of 400 plus teams in the state of Georgia, I think only 4 teams met that criteria where they had an opening on September 1st and 8th. And most importantly, they only had 9 games. So they were actually looking for a game. So there was only 4 teams available out of 400 plus teams in the state of Georgia. So that's pretty difficult.
Well, I want you to do this. I want you to go look at what you looked at on the GHSA, because I did the same thing. And then I want you to look at those schools and look up max preps, and it's going to look different. Those 4 actually have games.
Is that
it's
right?
It's not showing up on the yeah. Again, we sat in front of a computer for the last 3 days. So we didn't know that either. We did the same thing. We pulled up GHSA site. But a lot of times that thing's updated in the spring. It's not updated right now. We all have to turn our schedules in by, March 1st. So that's when it was updated. So you look at it and you're like, okay, well, so-and-so's got to get open. And then, you start calling her like, no, Coach, we're full. And then you look at max preps and, they got 10. And so, there's really not, there's really not any. I mean, the other Georgia schools we reached out to today, we're like, no, Coach, we've had a game. It's just not updated, those kind of things. So it's going to have to be an out-of-state team. No doubt about that. It is what it is. And so it's just a matter of what state at this point in time.
That's right. All right, Coach, listen, we're just a couple of weeks away. I can't remember exactly when, but just a few weeks away from a preseason scrimmage with Tift County. Now, we all know that scrimmages don't really matter, but to a fan base, sometimes we can get a little too zealous over a fall scrimmage. So setting aside what the fans are looking for, as a coaching staff, what are you guys looking for in that scrimmage against Tift County? Being a new staff, basically new offensive, defensive schemes, what is it you're looking for out of your team?
Larry, if we're going to put our pads on and there's going to be a ref show.
Oh, boy, here it comes.
All right, so it just is what it is. I tell our kids, if we're going to go to those 7-on-7 turns, we're going to win there too.
I love it, Coach. I love it.
We're going to treat it the same. I think for us, it's probably, I know Tipton's, they've had a coach there for a couple of years and they've got some stuff going, but for us, it's our first time of seeing our kids go out and compete against another opponent in a game-like situation, right? So, we're going to treat it as game-like as we can, because we got to see. We got to see how kids make adjustments. We got to see what happens when something goes wrong, and we got to fix it, how they respond. We've got to get into, situational football to where, that may come into play the very next week. So it's a huge deal for us. We're going to treat the whole week and how we prepare and how we go into that Friday just like it's open. Because I think as a staff, the evaluation part, you've had spring, you've had summer, but that evaluation is going to be different. Patty camp is still a controlled type setting. It's against another team, and you actually see a couple different teams, but the situation is not there. You're not going full special teams and then having to run a defense on or an offense on, or a helmet come off and somebody's got to be ready to go. All those things play a part in that scrimmage, and we're fortunate to be able to have one. But I mean, I think you'll see, our coaches and our kids treating it just like it's the opener, because I think this is going to be really, really important for us.
Fantastic. Coach, if you got a couple more minutes, I've got a couple of questions that were sent in by some fans. So this may be a premature question. I don't know. I'll just throw it out there. Based on what you've seen so far, still new with the team, is there anyone that you're expecting to have a breakout season that has just really stood out in the summer?
Yeah, I mean, I think people will be really impressed with what Grant Lasky's done, with what he's done, this spring and this summer. I mean, crap, he was a heavyweight top 3 in the state, also trying to learn how to really catch a football and be more of a receiving tight end and all that stuff. And Grant's caught thousands of footballs. And I think that when they see 6'5", 235 run out there that can run around and catch a football, everybody's going to be really shocked at what he can bring to the table. I know a lot of people, hey, you going to throw the ball? You're going to throw it? Well, yeah, we're going to throw it to Grant, hoping, you know what I mean, and get 6'5", 230 the ball and let him go make some people miss and all that stuff. But he should have a really good year for us, and such a great kid. I think I'm very proud of what he's put in and how he's handled himself since we get there. You challenge a kid and say, hey, your whole junior film is attached as a tight end blocking down, which people won't, but they also want a guy that can flex out and catch. Well, he's there with Coach Reese working. He's catching the jugs. He's doing all that stuff that we've asked him to do, and he's really, really had a good off season.
I got you, Coach. Listen, we had Jody Hewitt call in last week, and he works as a community coach. This with the one of the middle school programs, and he was just raving about the middle school programs and the culture that seems to be building around those programs. It just seemed like the message that was coming across loud and clear was you've really put an emphasis on the middle school programs. How is that shaping out, and is it where do you want it to be yet?
Well, we're trying. First of all, I think you have to give a ton of credit to Coach Ruiz, Coach Clemens, and Coach Fletch. You have 3 really, really good football coaches at 3 middle schools that could be on varsity staffs anywhere. And they're running the middle school program just like we're going to run it. I was able, in our spring practice, we didn't practice on Wednesdays. And so those 2 Wednesdays of the middle school spring practice, I split my staff up, and we all went to different middle schools to watch and to go see those kids and see those coaches. And, I said, hey, listen, I want y'all to run our stuff. I want your practice schedule to look like mine. This is what I'm looking for. And you run out there, and I'm just going to use Howard, for example, because that's where me and Coach Bailey went. And I go out there, and as soon as I walk out on the grass, man, they're handing me a practice schedule. I can look at it, see everything they do. And, their drills were looking like ours. Your vocabulary sounds like ours. And so, I get that. That's all them guys. I'm going to give them every resource I can. But if the success of our middle schools, it lies on those 3 guys and the coaching staff they have. And we got the right 3 to get us where we need to be. And I'm happy as I can be with those guys. And, I think the emphasis we tried to put on some of the middle school kids, we started doing those Tuesday, Thursday afternoons, of trying to lift them and get them there. I've invited kids to come to watch our practice in June and be a part of our practice in June and those kind of things as far as weight room and just seeing how we do it. And then, in June you look up, Larry, and people don't know this, and I think that obviously this is what your show's for, to give a little bit of insight, right? Yeah. But, I look up in my practice and in our weight room in June and I've got 4 or 5 middle school coaches standing there. Wow. Well, they don't have to do that. You know what I mean? They don't have to be there, but they were wanting to make sure that they knew exactly what we wanted so that when they went to their middle school, they could give their kids what they needed. And so, and that's just a part of building, man. You get the right people in place. You try to give them the tools or in the resources, whatever they need. And then you let them do their job. And that's what we're going to do. And we're going to keep building that thing, man. I feel really good about where we're at. Obviously it's a new league and all those things, but, I feel good about it. And, I think the parents of those respective middle schools will really like having the 3 levels back. And I think we'll be very competitive.
Man, awesome, Coach. Listen, final question, I promise, and this comes from a viewer. And Coach, I'm not kidding when I say this. I get asked this question every single week from the moment you step foot on campus. And here's the question. Are we getting silver helmets?
Listen, let me tell you this. I'll be quite honest with you. All right. I was trying. And I don't know if, again, this is something not everybody knows, but the helmet situation in America right now is unbelievable. And so once I actually made that effort and really started putting thought into it and getting some people to think about this and think about that, they weren't going to be here for the season. So we will not have them this year. I am not going to tell you that we will have them in 24, but I'm not going to tell you we ain't either.
I got you.
But it has been discussed. It's been talked about. We did what we could, but it just couldn't happen and get everything back for this season. When we do our reconditioning and painting of helmets, all that, we send those helmets back in December, and then they come back. You can't just send them back. So
that's right.
You got what you got at that point in time. But we are going to we're going to have some conversations and see what can happen. I think it's a good looking helmet. I know that the Lowndes faithful know they won a bunch of games in those helmets.
That's right.
And and so if we can make it work, we'll see what we can do.
So, Coach, what you're saying is, to quote Jim Carrey in that movie Dumb and Dumber, you're saying there's a chance.
There's a chance.
Well, Coach Carter, Adam Carter, thank you so much for calling into the program. We look forward to the kickoff of the season, man. You're doing a great job. Just keep at it.
I appreciate it. Hey, I'm going to throw something out at you. Next Friday is to meet the Vikings at the school. We're planning on getting started around 5:30. We're going to represent. We're going to call out all three of our middle school football teams, each level, and cheer. The high school, all three levels of cheer. We're going to call out band, then our football team, and then we're going to have a little scrimmage. It's free. You don't got to bring nothing. You ain't got to pay nothing. Just come out and see all the kids and we're going to do a little scrimmage. It's going to be quick and small, but everybody kind of get an idea of what we got going on.
Fantastic. That's next Friday. Meet the Vikings beginning at 5:30.
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Coach.
Hey, thanks. Go Vikings.
Go Vikings. Man, there he is, Coach Adam Carter. I love talking to that guy. I think he's doing a great job. Now, obviously, the proof is going to be in the pudding. Everybody is still high on new coaching staff, and as well, we should be. There are some naysayers out there, but like when they call me complaining about this or that or whatever, I always think, give them a chance. They haven't taken a single snap that counts yet. So let's give them a chance. I think everybody is fully on board. We're going to have, I think we're going to have a pretty good year. I think so. Candace Murray says, y'all heard it, an open practice. There you go. He committed. Next Friday, meet the Vikings. They're having a scrimmage. Everybody's welcome out to Martin Stadium. Let's usher in a new year of Viking football at the Concrete Palace starting at 5:30. We're going to introduce all the middle schools, cheerleaders. I think he said band. Obviously the football team, and we'll have a scrimmage shortly after. So anyway, Wilbur Pelfrey says this. Love it. Coach Carter is the real deal. I think so too. I'm really excited and looking forward to these guys and seeing what they can do. Tierra Battle. Candace Marie, because that's really all it's about to be. Now, Candace did bring up, I meant to ask him, but I just forgot. She meant what about a retro jersey? Now, Candace, are you talking about the black plowboy jerseys? Is that what you're talking about? Because some people want to see that come. Now, that I'll be honest with you, that was way, way before my time. So I don't even know what that. Yeah, I think I've seen a picture or two, some old photographs in a newspaper, but it was black and white. So, but I see what they kind of look like. So is that what you look? So wouldn't that be cool for a game or two to have the black plowboy jerseys with a silver helmet? Oh my gosh, that would be fantastic. Molly Carter says, Candace Marie working on it. Absolutely. And Molly, listen, since you're watching, listen, you are welcome to call in at any time. So anybody really connected to the Lowndes program, you're always welcome to call in. And the number is right there on the screen, right under my my name there, 229-469-1205. 229-469-1205. So one of the things that I've really laying out the details to, and because I've been talking to you guys about this for the last several weeks, is the possibility of us having a Friday night tailgate show that not focuses on Lounge, because that's what this show is for. But the Friday night show, broadcast right there from the campus, probably going to be from Tailgate Alley, is going to be a more region-based show, because it's probably going to preview all the games and the standings for all the teams in the region. We might expand that to Region 1-6A or some other area teams. The focus is not to take away from what Chris Beckham does or other programs do, because they're basically a call-in program that focuses on just about every program in the state. No, we're more focused on Region 1-7A and possibly Region 1-6A as well. So that's what we're going to be focusing on. So anyway, Fred Mitchell, I hear you. He says, hashtag silver helmets 2024. Let's make it happen. So maybe if we can place the order today, it'll be ready for next season. Yeah, there is an issue, I think, not with just helmets, but uniforms in general. Because I was talking to a buddy of mine either today or yesterday, and he was talking about their away uniforms may not be ready in time for the start of the season. So anyway, there's some, I don't know if there's still a supply chain issue that's going on, that kind of stuff, but there are some issues that's going on out there. So like I said earlier in the show, we talked about today was the last day of band camp, and every band member said, thank God, because it is brutally hot out there. But you know what? We appreciate all the kids that put in so much time and effort. We appreciate all the band directors, the volunteers that it takes to put all that stuff together, so these kids can put a quality product on the field that we can all be proud of this coming fall. So I can't wait to see the 2023 edition of the Lowndes Georgia Bridgman. We were talking about, last couple of weeks, we were talking about just these crazy polls, what fans do in the off season when there's nothing else to talk about. And one of the things was talking about the best incoming the best, what was it? What was the question? Which stadium has the best Friday night high school football vibe in the state of Georgia heading into 2023? And so our fans started voting. We're still way behind. Waycross is running away with this thing. Waycross is Memorial Stadium. They've got 33,800 votes. That is phenomenal. So they got 41% of the vote. Lowndes at Martin Stadium, now it's not bad, but it's nowhere near 33,000. We've got 6,785 votes, 6,785 votes, or 8.26% of the vote. So can we do better? Absolutely. But it's just not one of those things where it's just fun for fans to talk about, right? So we talked about NIL. We've been talking about that, and Coach Lazat, Richmond Hill. That's something I've been meaning to ask Coach Carter. That what's his opinion on NIL, and how does he think it's going to eventually affect Lowndes, if anything? Personally, I think that, especially kids that are old enough to work. We're not talking about freshmen, that kind of stuff, but old enough to legally work at a Chick-fil-A or a Hardee's. Do they have Hardee's anymore? Chick-fil-A or McDonald's, Burger King, Marco's Pizza, wherever kids get a job nowadays. I don't have a problem with a high school student athlete being hired by a company to be the face of the company, whether it's be, pitching hot dogs or cars or whatever. That's just a job that is offered by a local employer. Now, where it gets sticky is when kids start moving into the community that hasn't been here for a while, and all of a sudden they show up and they've got this NIL deal, this compensation package from a big employer / booster in any said community, right? So that's where it gets a little sticky, and the GHSA still has, I think there's like 30 states across the country now that have passed NIL legislation and rules to govern their high school athletics. So I suspect that Georgia is not very far behind. We're either going to probably get that rule in place either this year or next year. So it's coming. It's coming. Now, I'm telling you, the sticky issue is going to be how they handle boosters and booster clubs, right? So that's always a sticky issue when it comes to fundraising and what the GHSA calls inducements, right? Or undue influence, I should say. Let's go back to the White Oak Investment comment line. Let's see. Candace says, Fred Mitchell, somebody just screenshot this to remind you. Somebody screenshot that, and we're going to remind Fred Mitchell. Hey, listen, this is a recorded video tape tonight, and we've got Coach Carter on record saying he's working on it. He tried to get it done this year. That was exciting news. Even though we're not getting it done because of scheduling issues and I guess supply issues when it comes to helmets, getting them in time for the season. But it's kind of cool that he's taking the feedback from the fan base, and we're all excited about the possibility of silver helmets, trying to get it done. Couldn't quite get there, but maybe next year. Man, how cool is that to look forward to, right? Wilbur says, I did see pictures where the band got some use out of the indoor with some other activities also, which is good for our students. Absolutely. Wilbur, I was told today that it is an indoor facility, but even with the fans running, it is still hot because you know what? It's the summertime, and without air conditioning, no matter where you go, it is going to be hot. You just don't have the sun directly on you, right? So that takes away my worries about the conditioning of the football team, though. So I was kind of glad to hear that it's still hot in there, because you do need that conditioning. I think that's been a huge advantage that Southern teams have had historically is the conditioning. Now we got to start getting better at, we just got to become better football players. If we're going to compete against the metro teams and all the influx of talent that they have year in and year out, we're just going to have to become better football players. That's just the bottom line, or either that or throw in the towel. Trainer says, just copy the Buford and Graysons of the world. They've got it mastered. I don't know about that, Trainer. I think you're pushing it a little too far there. But I understand the argument. I do. A lot of people share the same sentiment about Grayson does this or Buford does that kind of stuff. Whatever they do up there, we can't control it, but we can't control what we can control, right? So I wanted to show you guys something about one of the things that I wanted to start doing in the next week or so is to start looking at some of these teams that we're going to be playing in the non-region. We've been talking about the region schedule a lot in the last couple of weeks, but we really haven't talked about the non-region teams. And one of those teams is going to be Christ School. And so one of the players, let me see if I can pull this up real fast. Let's see. Here it is right here. Let's see, where is it? I don't know. I can't find it. All right. So Christ School was, I think they put it on Facebook. I can't find it. Anyway, they were posted a photo of their quarterback. That he's a young quarterback. He really good looking athlete. I think he's like 6'4", 190 pounds, something like that. I was kind of confused by the post. He's either a freshman or a rising sophomore, and he's a good looking kid. He really is, as far as meeting the eye test when it comes to a quarterback. So it's going to be interesting to see. They're going to come down here and they're going to have a smaller team just because of travel. It's a long way to travel from North Carolina. So you're going to bring your bare bones team down here with you. But I'm telling you, they do have some good looking athletes, man. So I think the heat's going to get to them. I think our conditioning is going to get to them. If we can shut down, now, here's what I think. I think they're going to test our secondary early because this is a good looking quarterback. I think they're going to test us early. So if we can pass that test for the first quarter, maybe quarter and a half, take away that, especially the short underneath pass, I think we got a pretty good shot of winning that game pretty good. So let's go back to the White Oak Investment comment line. Let's see. Wilbur says, saw where the Christ School had a freshman. Yeah, or what we were just talking about. He says freshman QB transfer. That is a prospect 6'4" high. Jason Anderson. Jason's one of those guys that just beats that recruiting drive. And he might be right. He might be right. Robert Lindsay says, how about a throwback Wintersville game? The Vikings and Cats both wear throwback uniforms. How about that? You guys like that? I kind of like that idea. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Casey Harrell said, Coach Carter said all our magic words, throw the ball and silver helmets. Casey, you are exactly right. And we are all on board. Just listen, as a Lounge fan base, we are so predictable, aren't we? As people in general. But as a Lounge fan base, if you say you're going to throw the ball and you say you're going to bring back silver helmets, we automatically love you. And unless you go 4-6, then it's another story. But I hear what you're saying. Said all the right words, but I believe him. I mean, this guy is as intense of a head coach as you're going to find. And from what I'm hearing, the players are buying in. I did not know that whole acronym around compete. That was really, really fascinating. I'm going to go back and watch the tape and listen to what he said again and actually write down all the words that go with that acronym. I thought it was fascinating. I really did. Now, just about every head coach has a character ed program. So it's going to be really, really cool to see how Coach Carter's manifest itself. You remember when Jamie DeBosa was here, he had a character ed program. I can't remember what it was. Was it Boys to Vikings or something like that, where he had a couple of seniors lead a mentoring type of program for young Vikings that were coming up? We're talking about little kids, right? Young Vikings that were coming up, and they would work with them on Saturday mornings, that kind of stuff. That was kind of cool to see. So every coach has their spin on character ed. And so it's going to be fascinating to see what Coach Carter's take on that is and what it's going to be all about. Now, some coaches really focus on, preparing players for life beyond football, like what it means to be a good husband, good father, what it means to be ready for the workplace, because football is not going to last forever, right? It's not going to last forever. After high school, these kids, this time next year, these seniors, they're either going to be in college or heading to college. They're going to be headed to trade school or the workforce or maybe the military. So some head coaches focus on what these players are going to look like after their playing days are over. So I love character education when it comes to student athletes. So we'll see how Coach Carter's morphs into. Candace says it was kind of Coach Potch's thing. He let it. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. Candace says it was called Boys to Vikings. Absolutely. Now, she also says we're easy to please and loyal. Isn't that the truth? I know a lot of people from a lot of fan bases across the state of Georgia. And I don't know of another fan base that's just as rabid, loyal, and homerish as our fan base. And I say that word in the best possible way, right? So that's the way I describe Viking Nation. We are the fans' fan. I think so. We are loud. We can be obnoxious, but that's what I expect from fans because we love our team. We believe in our team. We are very opinionated, and that's okay too, because that's direct feedback the way I see it, right? Direct feedback to the administration, the coaching staff, the players, that kind of stuff. There's no beating around the bush. So I love our fan base. I really do. Now, some of our fans do get a little bit carried away sometimes, especially on game night when we disagree with a call. So there is a big push, like I talked about last week, from the GHSA to up our game when it comes to sportsmanship, right? So let's be on our best behavior. Yeah, you can still get passionate. You can still give it to the rep, but don't get carried away. Just don't get carried away. Travis Hart sums it up in a nutshell. We're just passionate about our team. Absolutely. Absolutely. We're just passionate about our team. All right. So, guys, we're about to wrap. We got a few more minutes left in the show. Then I got to go spend some time with my kids that are visiting with us tonight. We heard from Adam Carter a little bit earlier, and he was giving us a rundown of what the team's been up to. I was really pleased to hear that he likes what he sees. I'm going to say this about Adam Carter. He appears to be a straight shooter. He really does. When I asked him the question about how do your kids have they adopted or rallied around that whole concept of compete? He said, Larry, let me just explain to you what that means and how we hold our kids to that standard. Right. So anyway, he just strikes me as a very genuine guy, very intense, genuine, down-to-earth guy. And you really can't ask for a better type of coach than that. Now, he hadn't been under the stress and the spotlight of, a 2-3 game losing streak. And I hope he doesn't have to go through that here at Lowndes. But, sometimes that pressure, kind of weighs on a person. So we'll see. We'll see what happens when the stress comes. Not that I'm not saying it hadn't been stressful already. This is Lowndes football. It is a year-round, 24/7 endeavor, right? Tiara says that's the energy I get too. Absolutely, absolutely. It's all they have to, Candace. It's all they have to brag about. That's what sure. Oh, okay. That other school only brags about history, but it doesn't reflect anymore. Y'all be nice. Come on. Because when you guys say stuff like that, I'm the one that hears about it. I'll get phone calls and text messages and, direct messages on Messenger, that kind of stuff. So have fun. Have fun. I'm not going to try to discourage you, but I just want you to know, when you say stuff like that, I'm the one that gets the blowback on that. And I'm okay with that. But just be aware of what you're doing, right? Candace, I hear you. You said this is the Viking Nation. Absolutely, absolutely. Speaking of that, just before I let you go, I want to let you know there are 22 days. Think about that. We're 3 weeks away from our kickoff. No, I'm sorry. 24 days until kickoff against Christ School. That's 2,073,600 seconds. Whew. That's a lot. That's a lot. Now, I'm going to ask you this final question before I got to go wrap things up here. One of the issues that I wanted to talk about tonight, and we'll get into next week a little bit, is this. There seems to be a little bit of momentum around, I shouldn't say little. There's always been momentum. It seems to be building around concussion protocols and how to properly test for kids, keep them safe. There's been a big emphasis on safety when it comes to high school athletics. So I read this news article a few weeks ago that talked about, one way that is possible to limit the number of concussions in high school athletics is to look at the high impact plays and specifically kickoffs. So there are some people out there that thinks that kickoffs should be outlawed or at least taken away, diminished when it comes to a high school football game. What do you think about that? I'm kind of on the fence about that. Kickoffs have always been an integral part of a football game, and it can literally change the face of a game. I mean, it can literally get teams back into games. So if you eliminate that portion of the game, then obviously it takes away from the potential big play or the big comeback, that kind of stuff. So what do you think, for safety's sake? What, you don't have to answer that now, but for safety's sake, what do you think about a football game in the not too distant future without kickoffs, where if there's after a score, you place the ball automatically on the 25 or 30-yard line, something like that, and you don't have kickoffs anymore? Obviously, you still have punting and you still have field goals, but not necessarily kickoffs and kickoff returns. Yeah, Travis said kickoff return could change the momentum of a game. I absolutely agree with that. But, a lot of people are taking safety very, very seriously now. We never know where that's going to lead us. We don't know how it's going to morph into rules because the NFHS, the National Federation of High Schools, they're basically the national organization where all these different rules are talked about and debated and ultimately get passed, and they trickle down and are adopted by the state associations. So I don't think it's going to happen this year or next year, but don't be surprised if within the next 5 years or so, we're going to see a football game without kickoffs and kickoff returns. I'm just saying. So I know when I first initially thought about this, I did not like it, but when I think about it more and more, I can understand why they would do something like that for safety reasons. So anyway, we're going to leave it on that note. Guys, great show tonight. Thank you so much for your participation, for hanging in there with us every single week during the off season. Listen, we're going to catch you next week. Have a fantastic weekend. May God bless every single one of you. And as always, go Vikings.